Good morning. So lights have been done for a while, and they're a grower. They're a grower. I'm liking them more and more and more when I see them. So if you don't like them, or you didn't like them when you first saw them, give them a little bit of time. Give them a little bit of time. Okay. Yeah, they look good. They do look good. Take it from me, they look good. Okay, so the next job of the day then is the brake switch, brake light switch, and return spring. We need a return spring on this as well. So we're going to fit a brake light and a return switch. I did have it in my head I was going to do it. However, I think I'm going to have to change it a little bit. But there's quite a lot of work. But this is a bit of a pain. I don't like doing this. I've got to, because of where I've mounted the brackets, they had to go there. They couldn't really go anywhere else. It does mean I've not got enough travel on my brake pedal. Naturally, it's going to sit around about there. Probably about there. That's not enough. Which means I'm going to have to modify this pedal. So I'm going to do that. That's just going to be a matter, I'll just say just a matter. It'll probably take me quite a long time, but I'm going to do it. It's cutting it up and re-welding it in a different position. And what I'm going to do at the same time, I'm going to weld another little bracket onto this pedal as well. But I'll show you what I've done in a sec. Okay, first things first, I have to move the position of that drop arm to the lever. Okay, bring it round this way a little bit. This might cause me another problem on the bike where the drop arm is coming forward. It might bring it too close to this drop arm here, but we'll see. We'll do it first and we'll see. We might have to modify this one a little bit as well. Okay, so brake light ideas then. Return spring and brake light. Little micro switch just working off of this bottom lever here. That would work. It's not too close to the exhaust, so that would be fine, I think. Option number 2 was to build a feature, so make a sort of like a fanciful thing here with the brake light switch and spring and everything on it. Gone away from that idea because it's sort of going away from the ethos of the bike a little bit, so that's out the window. But the last option's not, and that was to run a cable from the linkage to up under the seat and have the brake light switch and a return spring under the seat. I quite like that idea. So it's between that one and fitting it down off of this lower arm here at the moment. So I'm gonna modify get the levers set up properly so they work and I've got enough movement in them. And then whilst I'm doing that, I'm going to be thinking about which direction I'm going to go with this switch. Okay, I need a bit of cheering up, so I'm going to make something for the bike. 10mm thick plate, cut a strip. Okay, strip cut off the end. Now we're going to drill a hole in it. Let's drill a hole in it. Okay, hole drilled, still feeling miserable, need to go further, so now we're going to give it a bit of shape. Can you guess what it is yet? Okay, it's started to take a little bit of shape now, so I need to make it a little bit shorter. And I need to cut a couple of slots in the end. One right across the top, this way, and one halfway across the bottom, that way. Surely, come on, it must be obvious by now what it is. I'm starting to feel a bit happier within myself. Okay, so now we need to get the file out and do a bit of hand filing and clean up these slots in the end. So they're a tiny little bit wider than they are. I reckon you probably know what it is by now. Okay, so it's finished, and strangely enough, I feel a little bit better now. I was feeling right miserable before, and now I'm just feeling half miserable. So it's good therapy, and you can see what it is now, hopefully. Okay, so it is to hold a Bowden cable. So if I put that in there, it says And now you can see that that's a little lever that's going to hold on to the cable. Fantastic, eh? Fantastic. Now, where does it go on the bike? Let me show you where it goes on the bike, because I'm just about to weld it on. This is going to be, so this is our remote idea for the brake return spring and light switch. So this little lever I'm going to weld onto this part here. Okay, let's do that. Okay, feeling better and better as the evening goes on. So now we're going to make something for this part of the cable. We'll just turn it down on the lathe out of this. So I just turn the bar down. It won't need to be that long, quite short. Drill a hole through the middle of it. And just a little bit for this. Not quite sure how I'm going to fit it to the bike yet, but we'll come to that in a moment. So we've turned down this tiny little piece here to hold the other end of the cable. And I think I might have made it too small, because I've got to tack that to the frame there. Now it's so thin, I think I'll probably burn a hole straight through it with the welder, but we'll see. It's only got I've just got to tack it into place. That's it. It hasn't got to be held in there with any great strength. So let's give it a go and see what happens there. Okay, looks a bit messy, but bear in mind it'll have some paint on it, so you won't even notice it, I'm sure. So I have just tacked that little piece in there. Now I drilled a hole in this plate, which wasn't easy, believe me, at the right angle. However, I've tacked that into there. So now my cable, plastic sheath with the cable, will go into there, as you can see, and run up the inside of this frame there. And the inner part of the cable should go down into this part of the lever assembly down there. Okay, the cable's up to here now, so now we've got to figure out what we're going to do with this end of the cable. Let's have a think about it for a moment. So we're back out in the garage 2 nights in a row. 2 nights in a row, how's that? And we're interested in this brake light return spring assembly that we're going to build. So we have our cable was going to run up to there already, so it's going to be mounted in here. Okay, not on this. This is removable, isn't it? So we're going to make something else up in here. Now we haven't got all of this space, because we are actually thinking ahead for the first time, you know, in this build. We're thinking ahead a little bit here. Battery's going to be here, so we will need some cabling and things like that to go up underneath. And we're going to have to drill some holes in this bar that's going across here, which means that the brake light and thingy assembly is going to be situated on this half. Okay, it hasn't got to be neat, it's just got to do what it needs to do. There's got to be a return spring and a micro switch. So I'm going to start off, I think I'm going to make a flat plate, so I've got something to work on. I think I'm going to do it out of steel. Right, I was going to make it out of aluminium. A load of aluminium bits here to make it, but I think I'm going to make it out of steel, sort of little bits of steel, just because I can weld it. It's a lot easier if I want to join it onto this subframe. So we'll see. I'm just going to cut up some bits. I've got a few different ideas about how I'm going to do it. It hasn't got to be neat, it's just got to work. So let's see what we end up with. Okay, so we've got a little bit of plate. That's going to fix in there like so. This is going to be my lever. Micro switch. It's quite a big. I've got a smaller micro switch, but I'm going to use this one because this one's a lot easier for me to mount, and it will do the job nicely. And so I just need to make a pivot for this to turn, and I've got a hole there for my return spring, so I need a little mount up here for the return spring as well. So we're going to put a tiny little peg on there for the return spring, and a peg on here as well for the pivot. Okay, so I'm just going to, I've drilled a 6mm hole. I'm just going to put a bit of 6mm bar. In fact, I might as well just put a 6mm bar there for my return spring as well, haven't I really? Yeah, no, maybe a smaller one. Maybe a smaller one. Okay, so we've mounted our little micro switch unit up here. So this is our brake light, return spring on there as well. This isn't very strong. I'm going to put another spring on the cable. So this has been welded to the frame. So that's now solid. I've got a couple of holes in this bar now. So this is for the cabling, as in the electric cabling. This here is for the cable for this. So we've shortened the cable down. We've reshaped this so it's at the right shape. So what I'll do, I'll bolt this all together and then I'll show you how it works. Okay, I have a bit of an issue. I thought I would. The little spring that I've put on here isn't man enough for the job. I need a much stronger spring to pull this back. So I'm going to have to get rid of this tag, cut that tag off, get rid of this spring, and put a big spring all the way back up here somewhere. Okay, so I'll do that. I've got one here, so I'll just quickly give that a go. So the brake light setup and return spring for the pedal is finally done. Well, nearly done. I've had to put a much bigger spring on here, as you can see, and I've dumped the spring through this bar, which won't work because the seat has to sit down on this. So all I've got to do is just weld a little peg underneath this just to hold the spring. So we'll count that as done at the minute because there's another couple of little tags to weld on as well. So how does it work? Let's have a look at it then. And you know, you might be thinking, Pete, why bother? Why don't you just fit a little mic switch down here somewhere? Well, you know, why not? Why not? So the brake. You can see all of the mechanism here. As before, a couple of nuts missing, don't worry about those. We'll do all of this properly when we put it back together. So now we have this bit, which is attached to this. So when I push on the brake, you can see the cable pulls. A little bit messy around here. We'll clean this up when we take it apart, so don't worry about that either. We need to weld on a couple of little tags. I don't want cable ties, so we'll weld on a couple of little tags on here to hold this cable. Up underneath, and then it comes through here and up to here. So when I put the foot on the brake, as you can see, we've got our switch up here, and this spring is big enough to. There will be return on the drum anyway, but it just gives us a little bit more of a return on the pedal. So job done. Job done. We've got the rear lights done then. Rear lights done. We've got the brake lights done. That means we can cross a couple of bits off our list. Let's cross some bits off our list. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put the tank on. We'll put the seat unit on. Just sitting there, and then we'll have a look and see what we're going to do next. Okay, so current state of affairs then. Put the seat in the back. So the lights have been done. And if you don't like them at the minute, honestly, as I said before, they're a grower. They really are. So just keep looking at them. And I'll subliminally, every video I do from now on, I'll just quickly give you a little quick sneak preview of the rear lights. So you won't realise it. You'll keep looking. And eventually, you'll end up liking them because I actually think they look really smart now. Brake lights done. So we saw that earlier on. That's under the seat. We have our cable. Just a couple of little tags and things like that to put on there. So nothing serious. Nothing. Right. Everything's just very loosely held together. In fact, there isn't even a bolt in the rear shock. So everything's just plonked into place at the minute. So this is where we are. On our list of things we can cross off that. We can cross off that. Fantastic. We can cross off half of that, but we won't. We'll leave it on there for a minute. And so the next thing we were going to do is the front light. So that's the next thing. I've been looking at different things. I've got a couple of little bits here. Just trying them really. I haven't bought these, I've just borrowed these. And twin lights, nah, not quite, not for this bike. And the single BMW light, yeah. So just been matching a few things up. Now the big decision here, and really not sure about this, but it's whether or not to go fairing or no fairing. That's the big decision. I kind of like a very small fairing at the top end. I think it, like, you know, a nice classic calf racery styly fairing. I think it might look really good on there. But then I do like them open as well. I do like them with no fairing. So, like I say, that's the big decision at the minute, and I'm not quite sure which way to go with it. So that's what we're waiting for. Well, that's not what we're waiting for. That's the next thing. We're going to do the lights next. I'm just going to, you know, subliminally, you're going to end this video looking at the rear lights. We're going to do the front light next and get that out of the way. Fairing or no fairing? Well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? We'll have to wait and see.